Hello everybody, welcome back to Head-Driven Phrase Structure Grammar. We have seen in the previous video how linguistic data can be captured in terms of feature structures. We have particularly looked at two crucial data, transitivity and agreement. And we have shown that the redundancy could be removed from phrase structure rules if you consider transitivity and agreement as features. Let's begin with what we looked at about agreement in terms of features. Particularly, we have seen the number as the agreement feature, and the value of number feature is shared with its daughter. This is what we have seen with regard to intransitive verbs, transitive verbs, and ditransitive verbs. So, a verb phrase will have number value shared with the number value of its daughter node, that is the verb, right? What we actually said was agreement can be taken care of by tagging the values for feature num. The num value of the phrase and the num value of the head are same. What do we observe from this? We observe that the mother and one of the daughters bear identical or unified values both for POS and for num. POS is parts of speech. So the parts of speech has value 1 here and also has 1 here. This daughter, the daughter which has an identical value with its mother node, we call it head daughter, and the phrase which has a head daughter is a headed phrase. And the rules which have this pattern, that is head phrase and head daughter, we call those rules as headed rules, right? That is, they have the pattern which is given here, a phrase which has a head daughter. So this is a headed rule. So whatever we have seen previously, all the three rules are headed rules. This is a headed phrase because there is a head daughter. This is also a headed phrase because it has a head daughter. This is also a headed phrase because this has a head daughter. So before we move on, let's have a word. Certain features are appropriate for certain parts of speech. This we have said earlier. Let's another example here. Case for nouns. Case is appropriate for nouns. Auxiliary for verbs. Also, person and number are only for nouns, verbs, and also determinants. Each parts of speech type, there are certain features specific to them. If you consider noun, which is one of the parts of speech, it has certain features. If you consider preposition, it has certain features. If you consider verbs, it has certain features, right? So each part of speech type has certain features specific to it. So let's consider noun, verb, adjective, prep, determiner, and conjunction, these 6 as types for 6 lexical categories, right? Now noun, verb, adj, prep, det, and conj. These are 6 types for the lexical categories which we have seen. And all these 6 are actually subtypes of a type. What type is it? It's the parts of speech type. So you have a parts of speech type, and that contains 6 subtypes: noun, verb, adjective, preposition, determinant, and conjunction. Okay, now let's eliminate the POS feature. Remember, we had a POS feature here. We will remove that POS feature and introduce a new feature called head. We call it head feature, which takes as its value parts of speech, right? Is it clear? What we are saying is, we are removing POS as a feature, replace that with a feature called head, and we use parts of speech as its value. Okay, so we have now a word which can be a type, a subtype of parts of speech, that may be noun or verb or preposition, etc. And POS is substituted with the feature head. What we are actually doing is we are introducing feature structures within feature structures. One feature structure has another feature structure. We'll look at an example immediately after this slide. And let's also consider a new feature called AGR. AGR is another feature whose value will be a feature structure, and that feature structure contains two features, num and per, number and person. See, agreement doesn't mean only number agreement, it's also person agreement. When we say runs is third person singular. It's not first person or second person, it's third person singular. So person is also to be considered as part of agreement. So we say AGR feature has a feature structure which has two features. Those two features have values. Number will have singular, plural if it is English. Person or per will have three persons, first person, second person, third person. Look at how it works. We have a feature structure. Let's consider a noun. Let's say boys. Boys is a noun. It has a head feature. What is the value of the head feature? What is the parts of speech of that? That is the head feature. Boys is a noun, so noun is the value of head feature, and that value, which is noun, has another feature structure, right? That feature structure has a feature AGR. AGR is again another feature structure, which is this, and that feature structure has two features, person and number. Person, its value is third, and number has the value plural. Let me repeat. We are looking at a word like boys. Boys has a feature structure, the outer brackets you can see, that has head feature whose value is another feature structure. You can see the middle square brackets. That feature structure is a noun, which is actually parts of speech, and noun contains a feature called AGR, and that AGR is also a feature structure, which is the innermost feature structure, which contains two features, person and number, and person's value is third and number value is plural. This constitutes the feature structure of the word boys, right? So what we are doing is we have parts of speech, and the parts of speech has 6 subtypes. Parts of speech as a type, and these have 6 subtypes. Each subtype has features. Verb has 2 features, auxiliary and AGR. We haven't looked at adjective, preposition, conjunction yet. We'll look at them later. Noun has AGR feature. A determiner will also have an AGR feature. Determiner meaning you may have articles like a and the. A is singular, right? It has an agreement feature. When you use determiner A, the article A, you can use only count noun, which is singular, right? A boy, not a boys. So we need to say determiner has an agreement feature, right? So look at this. What we're saying is types and subtypes. Each subtype is characterized by a specific feature structure which has special features. This is a type hierarchy. Right? We may look at some more expansion of this type hierarchy later. Now we'll come back to head feature principle, which we started with. What is it? Head feature principle now deals with head features. That means it should deal with headed rules. What are the headed rules? The three rules which we have looked at: intransitive verb phrase, and verb phrase with a transitive verb, and verb phrase with a ditransitive verb, are simplified now. A phrase which has a head, and head has the features. Head has a feature structure which is a word. The head is a word with a feature valence. What is the valence? ITR. If there is a phrase with a head is again a word with a valence value, strict transitive, we'll also have a noun phrase following it. That means you have a head daughter and a NP daughter. And a third rule, the ditransitive rule, is also a phrase which contains head daughter, whose value is a feature structure, which is a word, and has valence as a feature, and the value of that feature is DTR, ditransitive, and is followed by two daughters, NP. Right? Look at how we have simplified. Right? We have simplified all the three rules. We don't have agreement now here because these are very generic rules. It doesn't say whether these are verb phrases or noun phrases or adjective phrases. But this rule may apply to any of the phrases. Right? If you look at a word, the word, if that is a noun as the head, see, this is head is a noun, so then it becomes a noun phrase. If the word is a verb, that is the head, so that becomes a verb phrase. Right? Or if it is a preposition, it can be followed by a preposition and you get a preposition phrase. So what we are basically looking at is, in any headed phrase, the head value of the mother and the head value of the head daughter must be unified. That means the head value of the phrase and the head value on the right hand side, the daughter's value, are same, then that principle we call it head feature principle. Right? This is a principle which needs to be obeyed by all the phrases. Now, what is the principle? You have a tree in which a phrase dominates head daughter. The head value of the phrase and the head value of the daughter are identical. They must be unified. Okay? That's what head feature principle states. Thank you. Let's meet in the next video.